Hi, and welcome back to another episode of The Traveling Artist. So today I'm going to take you on an adventure to the Platypus House, which was actually our first stop that we made when we got to Tasmania. And I was really excited to go there because I've always wanted to see a platypus in real life. And I got the added bonus of actually getting to see some echidnas as well. And while I was there, we had this amazing guide, and he took us through some really interesting facts about these creatures. So first and foremost, they're part of the Monotreme family, which is the smallest branch of the mammals, and there are actually only 5 species in it. Of those, 4 of them being echidnas and only 1 of them being a platypus. And what makes these guys special and different from the rest of the mammals is that they're the only ones to lay eggs. So they're this kind of weird reptilian leftover of this branch in the tree of life that was just completely forgotten about, and it's just continued to do its thing. But you know what? It's actually succeeding fairly well considering how odd it is and how marginalized it is to Australia and Papua New Guinea. But what I also found really interesting was that the skeletons were actually very similar to each other, despite the platypus and the echidna looking very, very different on the outside. One looking like a beaver, the other one looking like an overgrown hedgehog. But the most interesting thing to me was the fact that their back legs were completely backwards, which means that their feet also face backwards. And you can really see this in person, where it looks like their toes are all bent around the wrong way, but it's actually just how they walk. So it gives them this very funny lopsided tilt as they go around, or at least for the echidna. The platypus is a little luckier because it gets to just swim around, and I think it makes it a bit easier for it to move through the water that way, if you think about fins or flippers. But yeah, they're really extraordinary animals, and I learned so much about them, and I highly recommend being able to see these guys in person if you ever get the chance, just because they're one of those wild and weird things that exist that you don't really think should exist, if we're really thinking about this in a logical, biological, evolutionary way. But yeah, and then a final maker's note about this, I tried to make my sketchbook look a little more aged and tinged with coloration, as if it's part of a naturalist journal from back in ye old days, mostly because I've been very interested and inspired by naturalists of the 18th and 19th centuries recently. So I just really wanted to explore what that would be like, doing less painting in terms of shading and form, but using color in a way that augments the subject matter and the theme. So I went with some fountain pen ink using my dip nib, and I was really just trying to go more for getting a feel back into drawing rather than accuracy at this point, since it's just been so long since I've had any chance to do any drawing, which means that they're not super accurate, but I really have fun doing them anyway and just seeing what that would be like. And then I added the pencil in just to contrast the different mediums and see what that would look like together, but also because I tipped over my ink bottle and spilled it everywhere in my Airbnb and had to spend a good 45 minutes cleaning that up, and I was just kind of done with ink for the day after that. You might see the bit of ink on my fingers in this video, but it was, you know, just one of those things that happens. But in all, I'm pretty happy with how this turned out, especially since it's one of my first forays back into sketchbooking since a long time, and I think it really worked in terms of exploring different composition techniques and just experimenting a little bit more with medium and text and art. So I hope that you enjoyed that. This is one of my first times where I've filmed what I'm doing at the same time, so I'd be really appreciative if you let me know what you think and leave a comment below or subscribe to this channel or just give it a like so I know if I should do more of this in the future. So thanks so much for watching, and I hope to see you again soon for more adventures.